selling your business, you need some sort of support group. We need therapy, right? I got nothing to do now. It is the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. I went from a business 23 years, almost my every waking thought. And I went from that to it's just gone. It was this giant part of my life that disappeared. It's not an easy thing.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take you to the front lines, to those that are driving those changes. I'm Donnie Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, which has Triangle Pest as well as Triangle Lawn. And with me, as always, is the man who lives, and might I add, breathes, at least so far, the numbers that drive our industry, the Dan Gordon. Dan, would you like to say good afternoon? Introduce yourself. Actually, I've already done that. How about you introduce the sponsors, the peer groups, our special guest, as well as our topic? 4 things.
Got it. Ready?
Let's do it.
Welcome, everybody. Dan Gordon, PCO bookkeepers and M&A specialists. We do CFO work for the pest control industry as well as exit planning, brokerage, and whatnot. Anyway, our sponsors, before we dive into our episode, let's talk about them. So if you're interested in fueling growth for in pest or lawn, we work with Coalmarch. Coalmarch helps you scale smarter. If you are a podcast listener, you can get a free month or your first month free. Just go to coalmarch.com/podcast. Now, the next sponsor, with over 40 years of experience, PestSure has been protecting pest control companies with specialized insurance and safety programs. Nobody understands the industry better. Learn more at pestsure.com. And finally, for those who are interested in growing their business through their telecom and AI, Voice for Pests. They deliver the only phone solution designed specifically for pest and lawn care, from powerful AI features to deep integrations with most industry CRMs. Learn why everybody's running to them. Learn more, voiceforpest.com/podcast. And finally, the self-serving sponsor is our peer groups. And if you're interested in joining our peer groups, facilitated by industry veteran David Billingsley, who he's outstanding, please visit pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups, or go back and listen to episode 238 with Caleb Cunningham of Justice Pest. He is a peer group member, and we talked about his experience with the what he does with the peer group and whatnot. And I am proud to, before I introduce our very special guest, I'm going to, Donnie, did you name this episode? It says the topic is "I sold my business. Now what?" And
I did not. No, I did not.
And people must be going like, well, you could sit there and count your money, or you can, but that's the name of this episode. But we become friends. We sold his business back in, I think it was 2021. Today we're going to welcome Jeff Davenport, owner of Prize Pest Control in the Dallas-Fort Worth market right now. But he's the former owner. The one that we helped him sell was called Official Pest Control in California, which he and his brothers exited with our help. And just wanted to welcome you, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, so it's
Awesome.
Living the dream to be here.
And we still convinced you to come on. No,
I know, with a title like that.
I tell you. Now, well, what's funny is as you were reading that title, "I've sold my business. Now what?" There's an old saying in aviation, says if you gave a pilot a bag of money, he complained about how heavy the bag is. So I'm really interested to hear about
That's
got to give them bills, not change.
So I'm curious to see where
no.
this goes. So Jeff, we're glad you're on here, and obviously, I think probably a good place to start would maybe just give our listeners a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your background in pest control, and then how you and your brother Jamie started.
John, I don't know what's this. So we have
There are three of us.
Sprint.
Yeah.
There's three
Oh,
of
it's
you.
three. Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's hear all about it.
Yeah,
I
let's
have to
go.
also, at some point in the podcast, thank my wife for all her support too. So don't let me forget that, or I'll be in trouble.
You could do it
There you
right
go.
now. If
Yeah,
you
Okay.
I mean, lay it on, man.
Aaron,
That's
thank
right.
you. If you're out
Yeah.
there, you've been a great support for me. Couldn't have done it without you.
I would do that, but my wife has never listened to this podcast and probably never would. So
Great
it
place
would
to
go on
hide it.
deaf ears.
Yeah. Well, so I started in pest control in 1994. I on the door-to-door sales side. I worked for a marketing company called Eclipse Marketing, and
Oh, yeah.
we sold pest control primarily for Orkin and Dewey, but just in their different markets. So I was introduced to the concept of selling pest control by a friend who just told me how much money he'd made. I was blown away and just wanted to do it. He had made enough money to pay for his entire year of school in that 4-month summer. So the next summer I went out and did it. I in 1994 I sold in San Jose, California, and then each summer we went to a different place. And so the next 6 years, that's what I did. 95, I was in Atlanta. 96, I sold in Houston, Texas. 97, I sold in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I actually spent 2 weeks in Raleigh that year. My daughter was born in Charlotte. And for a company called Economy Exterminators in the Raleigh area. And then let's see, then 98, I sold pest control in Nashville, Tennessee. That was the first year that Jamie, my younger brother, actually sold with me. Funny story about that year. Jamie was serving a mission for his church in Mexico, and he'd been there for 2 years, and he was excited about selling. And so he flew directly from Mexico City to Nashville, Tennessee. I picked him up at the airport at about 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We drove directly back to the sales area. I sold in the morning, went and picked him up. We drove directly back to the sales area. He started knocking doors, got his first sale that day. Anyway, Nashville. So we were dedicated to this. Then in 99, I sold in New Orleans. And then after that summer and some experiences we had, we decided to start our own company in 2000. And we started Official Pest Prevention in the Sacramento area in 2000. Jamie and I, and just Jamie and I actually then.
So whatever happened to Eclipse? We know so many people who were involved with it, and guys from Fox, and I mean, what
Point
came
Pest
of
Control guys? I think you know them,
yeah.
So the Borgs. So in the real estate downturn, I was so around 2007 or 8, I'm going to guess. They had a big loan called, and they had to sell a bunch of their. They were, because at the time they were starting these branches that they would start a full branch, and then at some kind of prearranged pricing, they would sell that back to Rollins or Orkin, and so they had this.
So they weren't knocking for Rollins; they were knocking for themselves, and Rollins had like a right of first refusal or whatever,
right? Some sort of thing. And then they were also, but I think they also did some offices just directly for Rollins. Anyway, they had a large loan that was called at that time, when credit got tight, and they sold off a bunch of stuff and then went out of business.
Wow.
As a result, they were a big company, and
they were legendary. They still are legendary.
One of the first, Scott Harmon was the first person I know of to do door-to-door pest control sales this way, and his company was SalesNet, and then Eclipse was just kind of a spin-off from them.
And there was Apex back then, right? Apex was one of the,
which became Vivint. Yes,
right. That was Todd Peterson.
Yeah. So I actually, in 98, we actually were working for Todd Peterson's company, but it was a company in between whatever the company was called before it was Vivint. It'll come to me later. But anyway, we kind of.
Yeah, it was a burglar alarm company before it got into solar and whatnot.
They did pest
But
control and
yeah,
alarms,
they
and then they
did.
did
Yeah.
alarms, and then solar. Yeah.
So remember, kids, go to school, study real hard and everything, and then you could sell door to door and become a billionaire.
Yes.
Like Todd
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
did well.
So
Hmm.
so you
Um,
start so you start your official pest prevention in 2000 in Sacramento, and I'm assuming you and Jamie sold in those markets as well.
we had never been to Sacramento. We actually, Eclipse had an office in Walnut Creek, the
Mhm.
Bay Area, like just outside, and that's where we were first interested in. So we went on a big road trip looking at some different spots and talking to other people we knew who had started pest control companies. We visited, for example, Preventive Pest Control in Albuquerque. We actually visited Pro Pacific in San Diego, a couple other places, but I had a friend that had started a pest control company in Las Vegas. So on this road trip, we looked at area, visited these guys, and on our way to Walnut Creek, we drove through Sacramento and liked the look of Sacramento for what we wanted to do. So we started there, and we were comfortable kind of packing up and shipping out and doing
Yes,
this.
we're like nomads,
Yeah,
just
we've done
going.
it many times before.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
Wow.
That's terrific. So you start this business. By the way, this business was pretty significant. So whatever Jeff is saying, he's being bashful. And it was a terrific business. So tell us about, okay, so you start selling this stuff door to door and the sales start coming in and who's doing the operations? Who's watching the store? Like everything's coming in. And what I see with a lot of new door to door guys is they know how to sell, but they forget that, okay, now you got to service it. And that
yeah,
becomes
we
an
were
issue.
overconfident when it comes to operations and service. We knew nothing about the service. We had never done it. We hired we so we brought a friend to help us with the service, just to actually do the services, and then we hired some local people. We hired a guy who had worked for Terminex, and actually had worked when they had door-to-door salespeople, so he was pretty familiar with what was going to happen, and he trained all of our other technicians, um, and and that's what we did. We
Without
just
a hitch? I mean, it was that
oh, there were
easy.
many, many, many hitches. But
I was gonna
Smooth,
say.
smooth as silk. Yeah.
with with our plan, we were thinking we just had no real great concept. So it took us a while to become a good place to work. We were thinking, man, you can do a regular service in about 20 minutes. You can do three an hour, and so, man, in 8 hour day, you ought to be able to do just ton. So we really overloaded our people, and our expectations were too high. We quickly realized we were going to have to back off of that, and so we learned, but we learned the hard way. It was rough.
Yeah. Yeah,
um
for sure.
I remember the second year. So one summer we spent working in the city called Tracy, and then the next year we were working there again because Jamie and I did all the sales. And then the way we did it, we would get there early in the morning. Our technicians came in the morning, and we would greet them, get them out on their routes. And then once they were all out, we would leave to go sell. And we had an office manager and a couple people in there to help. And my wife did payroll, so she would come in and take our deposit to the bank and stuff like that, and while we were out selling. And we would come back late at night, usually like between 10, like around 10 p.m., maybe a little after. And so we'd come back, the trucks would be in the office, but we didn't have gas cards. So we would take each truck and fill it up with gas. And so I would fill them up with gas, and Jamie would fix pumps. So that's what we did at night from about 10, till we were done with that. And then the next morning, one of us would be there to greet technicians at, whenever we had to be there. It was usually around 6 that we had to be there to get the first person out. So it were long days. We were working like
The harder you work, the luckier you become, right? Isn't that the way it
right.
is?
Wow.
Good
That's
times
terrific.
though. I look back on that fondly. I think at the time I considered it suffering, but now
Oh
I
yeah, no, that's that's the toll booth that you had to pay to get to where you are. It's funny because when I got into the business, I had met my wife, and I had this company, and I had a guy who used to run a night route. They used to service all these Roy Rogers in the Bronx. And one day he quit, and I called my wife and I said, "Hey, you want to take a ride? We'll go out and
Yeah.
and in the middle of the night, we drove all around the Bronx and killed bugs in Roy Rogers. And
Good
it's
for
one of
her.
the things.
Going
The
with
other
you.
thing, yeah, the other thing, we used to drive 5 speeds, and she would teach all of these big bruisers that we'd hire how to drive a 5 speed, and she would make me pay for massages because her neck hurt. So that was the deal that we had to deal
So
with.
fast, so I was gonna say, so fast forward 21 years. Now it's
Uh,
2021. It's time to sell. Can you just kind of walk us through what
Well, it was not
exactly?
time to sell. So we had no intentions of selling our company. Um, Dan kind of threw a net over top of us, and we were trapped in that net. Um, but we were
Hardly.
not planning on selling. I'm 53 now. I was 49 years old when that in 21 when we sold the company, and we had no intentions of selling. We were really want to know is what our company was worth, because we knew we would sell it someday, right? But we didn't expect it to be right then. So um, we had gone through with other companies. We'd had them, more just to, again, tell us what we're worth, what you'd give us. We're not going to sell it now. We're going to sell it, 10 years, 20 years in the future. So I don't know if you remember the phone call you had, Dan, but the way Jamie tells me the story is, hey, I was listening to a podcast and I heard these guys talking about valuations, and it's kind of crazy right now. What would you guys, if this is real, would you guys, this is Jamie, my brother, talking to John and I, the other brother. Um, so what would you, if this is real, would you guys consider this? And we both said, yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to pay attention to that. And so Jamie called Dan and said, hey, are you guys telling the truth about these valuations? Because,
Are you guys just yapping?
yeah,
Oh
I
man.
mean, or is this real? And Dan tells him, yeah, it's real. I think this is about what you can expect based on what you're telling me. So Jamie comes back and says, you want to go through this? Because, man, it seems like it's a good time, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? And our company at the time, we had, well, I mean, when we sold it and the whole deal was done, we were 20 million in top line revenue. We had about 170 customers. So anyway, Jamie talks to Dan, and
170 employees.
is
Yes.
that what I said?
170.
170
Yeah,
employees?
no,
What did I say?
customer. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
customers.
customers. 170
Yeah,
employees. We had about
yeah, they're all.
30,000, 33,000 customers.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we kind of decide, yeah, well, let's figure out what our number would be, and if it comes, we would sell. And that seemed weird to say, but we were very confident that there's no way this offer was going to come. So Jamie talks to Dan, and we decide to start the process, kick it off, and you make a pitch deck and start to send it out to places. And Dan helped us with all that, and pretty quickly, Anticimex shows interest. We meet David Billingsley and Shane Hoy from Pro Pacific. They brought him to be I don't know what you'd call him, but he was the
He's the
person we
poster child.
related to. Yeah, he whatever that what is for that. But um, we talked to him. They made an offer, which was higher than the number we told ourselves we would sell for, and then we countered to that, and then they just accepted our counter, and they said, okay.
So there was one thing. So Jamie didn't telegraph why he was calling. He called to try to see if we could do his accounting work.
Oh,
And he probably led me,
hmm,
not knowing, to, hey, we were thinking, hey, what do you think this thing's worth?
yeah,
I thought that I was trying to get you guys to take our accounting service. And
oh wow,
then the conversation kind of, I think he was being cool about it, coy.
yeah.
And but then but it was pretty neat stuff, and you guys sold right at the right time, right? So
Yeah, it
it
was a good
was
moment. I think, looking at that now, I think we had something special to offer Anticimex, who was looking to kind of build out their West Coast platform. So we gave them basically Sacramento and the Bay Area down to middle of LA, and they had just purchased companies in San Diego and LA. So anyway, we kind of filled in what they had already, and they were looking at in Seattle. So I think it was a unique time for them too, and
Mhm.
in our area.
Right. So you guys decide, okay, this is the thing to do. Can you just walk through? Okay, so you do the sell. What was your experience right after the sale? I'm just curious to hear. I mean,
Well,
there's obviously the sales process, and we've talked about that a lot, and everyone talks about it. Yep, it's the proctology exam. Everyone knows that, right? And kind of getting through all of that. But then once
mhm.
you get through that, and okay, so now the deal's done. You just kind of walk us through, like, did you stay with the business? Did you not stay with the business? What'd you do after the sale? Like, and then kind of like what your expectations were. Um, I would say for the process itself, and then maybe life afterwards as well. So,
Yeah. So part of our deal was to run the company for a year as an earnout, and we had a revenue target we had to hit in order to qualify for the rest of the money they were going to pay. Um, and then their agreement was, hey, we're going to let you guys quarterback this thing. So you got to hit your revenue target, but we're going to let you run it how you've always ran it. For the most part, they kind of would look in and give us some advice, but they were going to let us run it for that year, and so we did. We started that process was super compact. I don't know what the average sale time is, but man, it felt fast to me. It was end of October, and then the company was sold the end of December, so it was two
wow.
months. Going from, so 2 months before we had planned on being here another 10 or 20 years, and then 2 months later it was sold.
Wow.
So it was really fast and traumatic. Although I'm grateful that I really am glad that um, we had that year. I found it really interesting working for Anticimex, and I had a great time. They did everything they promised us. They for the most part just kind of left us alone to do it how we'd always done it. There are a few times where they wanted us to change a few things about the way we, they kind of asked nicely, and sometimes we listened, but they but for the most part they yeah they I thought they were really good about that. And we one thing I enjoyed too, so we sold in December. In around April, they had this big, like every 5 years they do this big retreat, company-wide meeting well, I don't know if it's always in Sweden, but it was in Sweden, in Stockholm, and they invited us and we went. And all of their uh, platforms and branches show up there with leadership, and it's a big 4-day meeting where everybody shares best practices, and I thought that was really great. So we went to that, and
so everybody's speaking a different language. How do they because they're
well,
all over the world.
yeah, it's in English. It's shocking how many people are. The hardest ones to understand were the guys from Australia, but but
Mhm.
but they yeah, everybody was there, and it was all in English, and everybody seemed to speak really good English. So most people that were there didn't have a hard time, but it was really interesting. And just they have some great platforms, and I felt like the it was just, and everybody's really open, and it was nice to talk to them and see what they're doing and how they run things. And we got a lot of ideas about changes we wanted to make. So yeah, I thought that was great. And then yeah, so we ran the company that year, and then in right around
We
January.
did know though that hitting that milestone was in the bag. We kind of had that all figured out, right? So
uh,
we were not going to let that go
we
by the
were we
wayside.
of course we kind of sweated it out because it was what we had planned to do, and we felt like we could do it, but it was
Yeah.
we
But it
we
was real.
were on the gas to get it. Yeah.
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 So
So
you make the you make the year, and then what?
So then in January, they brought in a new platform president for official pest prevention. And he came from Florida, one of their other uh, groups. And so they bring him out. And then we had a 4-month consulting agreement to help sort of that transition from us to him. He must have arrived in December because it seems like we worked. He was in the office for a couple of weeks before we left, just to kind of, you know, meet everybody and get ready for that. And then we stuck around to help him out. We weren't there in the office every day, but we were sort of available to him. So he'd call and we'd kind of explain or, you know, talk to him about whatever he had questions with. And then in April we wrapped that up.
You were done.
and you decided to go do it again somewhere else. So tell us what you're doing today.
Yeah. So the Jamie and I started the pest control company in 2000. I want to say around 2011 or 12. I had two younger brothers, one who had worked for us, but then moved to Fresno to start his own pest control company there. And then John had joined him. So they were working in Fresno, and one of them wanted to leave. He'd gotten his CPA's license and was going to go off to work, wanted to move back to Washington. So we purchased his interest in that company and then changed the name from Tower Pest Control to Official Pest Prevention, and then just grew that. And then and John, who remained there, became a partner in the company, and had a minority interest in the company. So then when we sold, John was is much younger than we are. I'm going to say Jamie's 48. So John must be 40 right now. So when we sold, he was, younger than that, 30, is mid to late 30s. But anyway, John wanted to continue working and wanted to start in pest control. So we just agreed that we would start a new pest control company wherever he moved. It had to be out of California because we had a 5-year non-compete in California as part of our deal with Anticimex. And so John looked at a bunch of places in Texas and decided he wanted to live in Flower Mound, Texas, which is a little bit north of Fort Worth. And so that's where we started Prize Pest Control. And so we started that company in 2023, and it's been going for about 2.5 years.
Nice.
How's it going?
It's going well. It has not been just a silky smooth, easy layup. I mean, there have been which we, naively kind of thought, oh yeah,
We know what we're doing now.
so experienced, right? It's just going to be a cakewalk. And there have been new things there about that market, just personnel stuff, us figuring out how, with six hands on the wheel, who's going to steer this thing. But we're working all that out. I think with all companies, the key to growth are in solving your problems, right? Fixing just what's going wrong and putting out the fires. And so there have been those things at Prize, but it's coming along. I think we have about 3,000 customers in that area. And we're going to do about 2.4 million this year. So it's
not a bad start. Definitely not a bad start.
So all door to door, or are you doing a bunch of digital, or how are you?
No door to door. So just call center, like we did at Official Pest Prevention. So we purchase a lot of leads and calls, mostly just on a per lead and per call basis. And we feed those leads into a call center that turns them into customers. So people call for quotes, and then we field those calls through our call center. And that was our model at Official Pest. We leaned into that really early, and that was what kind of spiked our growth. Was we were super early into pay-per-call and the call center thing. So we pivoted probably near the same time around 2011 or 12, we pivoted from door to door to this call center model.
So is that digital more like where are these leads coming from? New homeowner lists? What?
Yeah, we have about in our philosophy, we don't generate any of them ourselves. Our philosophy has always been we're going to find smart people who know how to do that stuff, and we're gonna buy them from them, and we know how to sell it, right? So that's what we've done. We purchase from places like, used to be Service Magic, then it became Home Advisor, now it's Angie, but just a lot of places like that. Some of them are big companies that do this as a really large business, and some of them are kids in their basement that know how to send you leads. So we'll buy them from anybody who's got them.
Got it.
Very
That makes
interesting.
total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to like go back around and just like, I'm just thinking about folks that are listening to this episode. What would some advice you would, if someone's kind of sitting in your seat 5 years ago, what advice would you give them, or what would you tell them that, hey, you're obviously we're all gonna sell, right? I mean, it's just gonna happen, or
Right.
transition of some sort. What advice would you give them, and what would you tell them, like maybe some lessons learned?
Well, I think you guys talk about the financial side of getting your business ready and getting it in ship shape, and you need recurring revenue and EBITDA and that kind of stuff. So there's all the good things that go into making your business attractive to somebody who wants to run it. So there's that stuff. But I think one thing that surprised me, and I think led to us talking today, I mentioned to Dan, I was like, man, in addition to help selling your business, you need some sort of support group for those of us who've sold our businesses and now we need therapy, right? We need we need a place to go, to a shoulder to cry on, a group to I picture
I
this,
just sold my
yeah, I got nothing to do now. So but there is something to that. We laugh, but it is the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. I will say that, I went from a business that was my life's work. I ran it for 23 years, and almost my every waking thought carried it with me. I mean, I was thinking about what the next steps were for us. I was thinking about whatever problems I'm concerned about. And I went from that to it's just gone. And I mean, it was just giant. It was this giant part of my life that just disappeared. And so it was hard. I mean, it was really, there's a lot to that. It's not an easy thing.
So the advice then is to have something kind of on the backside of that you are ready to engage in, or something that at least that kind of you've thought about the void.
Yeah. So and it's coming, and I knew it was coming, and that's why I thought it would be a good idea to be involved in like Prize Pest Control and other business things, and I wanted to work, but it just didn't replace that. But also just the other side, what are you going to do with your time? And then that's difficult.
So you've started another, for lack of a better term, marketing company where you're helping folks get leads and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about that, and maybe you can help some people who listen to us.
Sure. So as a service that we offer to other pest control companies, so we have a call center that just specializes in pest control sales, and we have these lead providers that send us leads, and we turn those into customers. Well, it's a simple thing for us to turn those same lead sources on in other zip codes. So we can take a pest control company's zip codes and get leads for that in their area, call it Charlotte, North Carolina, and then start selling them. And so we would field these calls, quote them, they would sign their service contract, and we schedule the first service. And then if you use Field Routes or PestPack or Gorilla Desk, we'll ship that. We'll actually put it into the CRM. So you, as the pest control company we're doing it for, would wake up in the morning and there'd be, new sales in your CRM scheduled on your routes. And then And we sell this service kind of like a door-to-door marketing company would, right? They're going to come in, knock doors, and then you're going to wake up and all their contracts are going to be in your CRM that they sold the day before or whenever. So we do this. And the thing I like about our offering is when a marketing company comes to you, they usually want to send 20 guys to your market and they want to sell 2,500 to 3,500 accounts. And so you need trucks and people and structure, and you're going to give away your life for 5 or 6 months while you manage this thing and then recover from the many heart attacks throughout the summer. We, on the other hand, are going to start out at 15 to 20 accounts a month year round, right? So we're going to put our sales into your structure. And I'm not trying to say door-to-door sales is a bad thing to do. It's not. I mean, I did it.
It's a great thing. It's just very expensive.
Right. It can be great, but yeah, super expensive and really challenging. But where we're meant to be sort of this manageable drip rather than drinking from the fire hose, And so we're going to put 15 to 20 accounts into your CRM on a regular basis, and then if you want to scale it up a little bit, we can do that. So it just becomes this regular thing in a way for folks to grow. So I've really liked it. I love working with other pest control owners, and I've learned a lot from seeing some of the things that the way other folks sell and service accounts. So
you have a list. So you Angie's list or whatever, but you have a list of these kids in their basements who are doing crazy.
Yeah, and then they work for us. When they send leads to us, they do it by the zip codes we've provided them, right? And so then that's how they know that Prize Pest can take it. So they send that lead to us, and it appears as a form or a call, and then we sell them service. And so I also think it's a good for especially for small companies, like if you're an owner and you've got a few trucks, and it's just challenging to field these type of leads in the aggressive, professional way they need to be handled, right? I mean, when you're talking about leads that sometimes go to other companies, right? Not just to us, but to others, and you're competing for them. I mean, you've got to if you're spraying a house and then you finish spraying that house and you decide to call that lead when you're done, you already lost it. And if you're going to do it at the end of the day, so you need a pretty aggressive, you need a really good sales team responding to those, or you won't get the return that you need. So we're able to do that for folks that don't quite have those operations set up.
So Donnie, you have used door to door and whatnot. And one of the things that you said, which is like, when we were working with some of the bigger door to door companies, they have this KPI that traditional companies don't use, that are just kind of like percentage of sales that actually got serviced, because it's like you said, a fire hose. Like you could really, if you don't have your ducks in a row, when you have a door team, you could really get slammed and miss a lot of that, right? And
you need to have some deep pockets, because at the end of the day, it's not only the sales all sound great, but you have to walk through. It's a lot more to that equation than just the sales piece, right? It's the ability to operate and execute on the operations, and that's a very difficult thing to pull off. I think it's way more difficult than people realize, because it's trucks, it's training, it's material, it's just, and those things take time, and there's a ramp period that you're hoping that obviously the door teams deliver on, but yeah, I mean you could certainly get yourself into a hard spot really quickly, especially with your brand. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're really slipping on the execution piece, customers, they don't typically these days, they don't shy away from giving you public feedback.
Yeah.
Public feedback is
right.
Is
public hangings.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just say,
I would say you need some good people on the phone to put out some of the fires that those sales reps are going to ignite. I mean, because they're young, these are young kids. They're 18 to 22 years old, and they're going out selling for you, and then you need really good. You're really good on the service end, and yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming out. This has been great, learning about your story and learning a little bit about what you're doing today. Dan, anything else before we close out here?
Jeff, is there a way to get in touch with you if somebody wants to use that drip method, which sounds to me like it's really a lot more manageable than getting 30 or 40 new accounts a day with a door-to-door team trying to get them all serviced?
Yeah. Jeff at prizepest.com is my email, and I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can look for us at prizepest.com as well.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, Jeff, really appreciate it. And then, of course, for all of our listeners, just a reminder, all the topics and resources we talked about today are going to be available on the podcast website. Just take a look at pmpindustryinsider.com. Take a look under show notes. We'll have a summary of this show as well. We always ask that for the public feedback, that it's positive. If it goes on Google and YouTube, if it's negative, we ask you to direct that to Dan. He really likes that. With that, we're going to sign off. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye now.